What's up, guys? Welcome to a spooky episode of the Bomb Squad. I forgot the name of our own podcast, where we cover underappreciated and overhated movies. Today, we're talking about a very underappreciated movie. Or is it? Because it's also like on every top 10 found footage list of all time.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peele calls it the scariest movie he's ever seen. You know, one of those small movies that everyone's seen.
Right.
To be fair, it's made for like no money, right? So
Yeah, I think it is
theatrically
still
underappreciated.
Yeah. Also, I still think it's underappreciated. There's a lot of people who don't like it, and there's a lot of people who haven't seen it. But today we're talking about 2008's Lake Mungo. And before we even go to commercial, I will say Lake Mungo is better as an experience by yourself with knowing as little as possible. I know this is not good for a review podcast, but I'm still going to say it.
Right.
So I would say if you
Go
haven't
to
seen Lake
Tubi.
Mungo,
yeah,
go to Tubi and watch it first. Try not to learn anything else about it. Just go watch it and then see how it affects you. I know that really did wonders on me, and we'll talk about it later in the podcast. But yeah, go do that first and then come back for our discussion.
Yeah.
Or you could you don't care. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
But that would be my suggestion for preferred viewing experience if you haven't seen Lake Mungo. And now we're gonna go to commercial, and we'll be right back with our actual discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bomb Squad. Please give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support our channel, other than that, the best way to do it right now is to watch our movies. We have the boxing documentary Humble Spirits. We have the Mexploitation thriller Borderland about missing cartel money. Those movies are both on Tubi. Also on Tubi and Screambox, you can watch the zombie drama, The Last Ones. And of course, The Empty Space, a cosmic horror about grief and loneliness. We hope you enjoy those movies. Tell us what you think if you do watch them. And of course, you can always follow my other YouTube page, which is my shorts page, to see some short films. Or just join us here. Thank you so much again. And please keep supporting the channel. Anyway, welcome back to the Bomb Squad. Today we're talking about Australian Scariest movie. It's funny that Australians' most famous horror movies are Wolf Creek and Lake Mungo. And none of those movies are actually about a river. Like, they don't have sharks or alligators or nothing. The lake, the bodies of water in both of those movies are inconsequential to the actual plot of the movie.
I don't even think you see the lake in this one.
We'll talk about it in a second. So Lake Mungo is a 2008 Australian psychological horror film written and directed by Joel Anderson. It's his only film so far. It is a pseudo-documentary. Like we said, it premiered at the Sydney, Australia Film Festival, and then was also played at South by Southwest. Also, before we go too far, so one year, there was a company that randomly decided to put these and that's why I was originally going to put this on their band series, but it doesn't really fit. But it was like this festival where they showed the 8 scariest movies to the studios didn't want to release. It was called 8 movies to die for. Yeah.
Nice. Yes.
And Lake Mungo was one of them. And me and Josh actually saw a pretty good amount of those movies the first year, and then we realized they were all terrible.
Wait, where did they play it at? Where was this played?
It was they played it in theaters, but it was part of this series called the 8 movies to die for. That were supposedly
was one
the
of them
scariest movies.
Dreadful?
Okay, let me introduce it before we start going into details, Josh. Jesus Christ!
Was this like at AMC theaters or something, or like?
Apparently, I cannot get to the end of this thing that I'm describing. That you guys are asking me for more
we have so
details.
Many questions.
It's like I'm like, hey man, here's how you cook a cookie. You're gonna get milk, and you guys are like, do you want eggs? It's like,
what kind of milk do you get?
Let me get to the end of it.
Heavy cream.
Yeah, they played it in theaters, and you could just it was like $30 for all the tickets. Me and Josh saw quite a few of them. We decided to skip Lake Mungo, and I'm gonna put the poster right here. Look at how fucking stupid this poster is. Okay,
yeah.
Josh, you've seen the podcast. Stuff goes on this side. It never goes above or below us.
Sometimes it goes to the
Why
other
would it
side.
go above us?
I thought we're on the left, and then the podcast is on the right. So you're getting it backwards.
Okay, but nothing is below us. You're pointing above.
Well, maybe you're going to insert it into your
the corporeal reality that we all.
Yeah, Josh is hiding in the picture frame.
I'm being
so to speak.
Yeah.
which you will get by the end of this if you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
And so we saw the poster and we're like, that movie looks stupid as hell. It looks like a water monster movie. So we skipped it. And the other one, Josh, you can tell us about the other one now. Finally,
is it okay? That is the one where we saw Penny Dreadful.
We saw and the grave diggers.
The girl is like trapped in a car and she's scared of cars. And the killer's
Yeah.
just like tormenting her with car-based fears.
So one of the movies we saw was Penny Dreadful, which is not based on the show. The show came out like a year later, and none of them were like, we should change the name. But no, it stars the girl from Bully, and she's scared of cars and she's trapped in a car. There's no reason her name is Penny Dreadful.
It's
and then we
Grave Dancers.
We saw Grave Dancers, which is about ghost
good.
hunters, which was a fun movie.
Yeah.
And then we saw like 3 other movies that are I don't even remember a little bit of what they're about. Yeah, those are the one. Like Penny Dreadful was funny because the whole time we're like, wait, this like, why is it called Penny Dreadful? It's so bad. It's funny.
I think was this the week? It was either the week. It was either the Dark Knight or like the new like at the time Daniel Craig was like the new James Bond. And it was kind of one of those
maybe.
Are we really going to see 7 movies and James Bond? So that's why I think we started skipping them. It's like.
Well, I think it was also like, they did that thing that festivals do where they're playing at the same time. So it's like you had to make a choice.
Yeah,
right.
But we didn't see Lake Mungo, and I wonder if the reception would have been as equally the same because I feel like this movie works better on a TV screen, which we haven't started talking about. So now that we're here,
well, hold on, I have one last question.
Go ahead.
What theater was this at? Like, was this like at a regular theater? Or
was
this like
no,
place?
Yeah. We saw it at Cinemark, but they showed it at every theater. It was like ideally
a big event. Yeah.
The marketing push was like every year they would release these like underseen films to show it. That's why we wanted to support it because we make underseen films.
That's cool, yeah.
And then like the first year we saw those movies and they were all pretty like Grave Dancers was okay, but it wasn't like worth watching in theaters.
Yeah.
And then the next year, like I looked at the ones and I was like, all right, I think we're done with this series.
Right.
And then by the third year they only released 1, and then I think that was it. So
it's festival logic, yeah. It's rough.
Still sounds like a fun time.
It was by After Dark Films, which still exists today, I think.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Oh, yeah, another one. Okay, now that I'm looking. Another one was Dark Ride, which we saw, and I do not remember at all.
That sounds like a movie about someone who's afraid of cars.
Right? You would think so.
Yeah, not Penny Dreadful.
maybe there were several car-based films that
they were all pretty... The Hamiltons was another one. I don't remember if we saw it or we skipped that one. They were all pretty like low budget, so they all had kind of the same plot where it's like they go to a house and something creepy happens.
Right.
They're stuck in a car in the middle of the desert that doesn't involve any driving scenes. We can't afford a permit on our not on this
gasoline,
schedule.
so the cars can be parked.
Yeah. So again, to be fair, Lake Mungo is that is like fully,
well, and to be even more fair, yes, Lake Mungo was literally made because the director Joel Anderson, he had written another script that he was having trouble finding the budget for. Welcome to my world, buddy. And so he wrote Lake Mungo to make the movie that he could do on his budget, which according to, if you've seen Lake Mungo, was $5.
Yeah.
But yes, it was it was literally made for like $10,000, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but it is very clearly.
They figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll talk about it at the end, but I think that's one of my favorite things about it. But now let's get into the actual movie. Joshua, why don't you tell us? Wait, was it Josh last time? No, it was William. Josh.
I think it was me last time.
It's your turn. It's your turn to take a dip in Lake Mungo.
Yeah.
This is a horror film.
Bury a cell phone in Lake Mungo.
It's
to be a mungo bean.
It's actually about grief. This family,
truly,
this Australian family is like, oh no, our daughter's dead. I'm gonna do the accent the whole
perfect
time.
accent.
It sounds like you said our dog is dead.
Our daughter died in Lake Mungo, and then they're basically like, okay, our daughter's dead. What are you gonna do? Let's move on with life. But strange things begin to happen after their daughter's body is found.
Yeah. And what a body. That thing is gross.
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
presented as like a pseudo documentary, kind of like a Lifetime movie, or not a Lifetime movie, but like a Dateline documentary where
Okay.
it's like, oh, we're examining all the things, and they even have like those. I literally watched one about another uh, murder that became a movie, Bully, about Bobby Kent, and it is shockingly similar how like the movie captures those like Dateline documentaries, even down to the music,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be, and maybe that's why we just spent 10 minutes talking about something completely unrelated to this film. It
Yeah.
is kind of hard to talk about this film because it is so much of an experience. Like the
I
only
know what you
like
mean. I know what you
you
mean.
don't really. So I'll tell you I first saw this movie because it was getting a lot of hype. If any movie is ever declared the scariest movie of all time, you know I'm gonna see that by the end of the week.
Right.
So
Right.
I heard that, and then I was like, and I even said like, "Damn, we should have seen this when we went to go see all those movies." But but yeah, I saw it and I was like, "Oh, that was pretty good. That was interesting." Like again, I was kind of more enthralled with the fact that the guy did it for nothing. I think this was also when we were prepping the last ones, and so I wanted to take a look at it. And after it ended, I was like, "Yeah, that was pretty good." And then like that night, I had to go take a pepe in the bathroom, and I like woke up and I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm probably just gonna go back to sleep and see what happens." Like I was so
Yeah.
scared to
Yeah.
go to my bed or to go to the bathroom, like just walk down a hallway. That I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh
I got
shit,
freaked out too. Yeah.
yeah." But then, and so I haven't seen the movie in 15 years. So this is only my second viewing of this
Oh, right.
film.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so what did you guys, William? Had you seen this film before?
I had seen it one time, but I think whenever we were talking about what we're gonna record, I had mentioned that like I was doing something. I didn't give it a chance. Like I was like doing something else while I was watching it, and
Right,
so
right.
I like watched it and I was like, this doesn't seem that scary. I don't really get the hype, and so I just didn't really go with it. But then I watched it a couple days ago, like at 10 p.m. alone in my living room with my headphones, and like I feel like what's really scary about it is like, and we'll get into this. It's just like the music somehow, and then also just like the way they shoot the house. But like the whole time, I just felt like terrified. Like
Right,
before
right.
even anything terrifying was happening, I just felt this like sense of dread, like just constantly. And like kind
Yeah.
of the same thing. Like when it was over, I had to go, to bed. I'd like walk through my house and turn all the lights off and everything. And I was just like, I felt shaken to my core. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole time, I was like
And
getting my house ready to go to sleep.
it is one. I mean, we put that disclaimer at the front, and this is more of a disclaimer. But I will say that it is one of those movies where, because nothing really matters until the last 20 seconds, like the last. But you
Yeah.
need all the setup for it to work. And so,
Right.
if it's a movie that you're not really paying attention to, like you're watching
Yeah,
it if you're watching it at work at your call center job, probably not going to get the full experience of
Yeah.
this film.
You have to
Um,
immerse yourself. You have to like
you really
really
do
give it
have to watch
full
it.
credence. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Josh, what did you think of the film?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a
What did the?
hater. I'm not a hater usually.
I don't
Wait,
know
what's
if
going on here?
I don't know if we
What's
look at
happening?
I don't know if we look at the
Well,
track
hold on.
record, we
Wait,
might
what?
find a different
Let's just
circumstance.
say,
Well, hold on, Josh. What is your opinion? What's it about?
Yeah, let's
you
hear
know when you
hater
like
opinion.
you respect a movie more than you enjoy watching it. I feel that way
Tell me more about that.
I feel that way about Primer too, where it's like I appreciate more the intricate like concept, like the structure of what you've created, more than I'm like. But this is also the second time I've seen it. I had to watch it a year ago because we were supposed to do it, and then things like fell through for whatever reason. So you already kind of know the twist, and I think rewatching it, it's very like, oh, knowing like what it's building to, it is kind of cool the way they like, essentially with no money, really
Yeah.
built up to this like huge conclusion. But I also don't find like Dateline type stuff scary, probably because I've seen way too much of it. That's like bad, It's like
Yeah.
I have that like I think there's too many like kind of the
So you're not like a mockumentary guy.
yeah, like typically if someone's like sedately like talking to the camera, like but they're describing super scary things, and I think that's
Sure.
kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, that sounds like it'd be so scary if I was like watching, if I was experiencing what they're describing. But I also like a lot of the newer Wes Andersons, it'll just be like a guy narrating what he did once to the screen. So it's like, okay, I have to imagine you doing it instead of seeing it. And in this movie, I know why they did that, because they had no money. So they're like, oh, we're going to describe this like crazy like horror movie scene. And Wes Anderson, he's just being like an asshole about it. He's like, no, the intricacies like part of it. Whereas in this one, I'm like, oh, you got around your budget limitations this way, and I think it's really cool you did it. But I'm not personally scared because
I don't know. I have to kind of push back. And we'll get into it once we start talking about the story, because they don't show stuff, but the stuff they don't show because of budget is more like there's a part later where she does something with her phone, which we may or may not talk about. But like they don't show that as well as you think, just because it's like the way they get around is like, oh, it's in the background and it's off of this. But a lot of the actual horror stuff is on camera. It's like what makes the film work.
Yeah, I mean, they showed the body pretty early on. And
yeah, so I don't know. Like, what did you think?
That was so awful.
What did you think you were missing?
No, like, just, okay, like, a lot of times, like, okay, basically, I guess, because it is weird.
Or should we get into it and then
describe the plot? Yeah,
let's get
okay. Kind of getting into
because
it.
once they find the body, they kind of start to go through. It's a two parents and then her brother.
Yes,
and you can tell that they're
it's two parents, one mom, one dad.
Sometimes it's
two
divorced, you know.
Yeah,
but the point is,
friends.
they're all kind of dealing.
One
with her
son,
death
that's a boy, okay, and she's a girl.
In different ways. Like the mom is like breaking into people's houses and stuff. And
right.
you know,
okay, wait, hold on.
That.
Okay, when I said get into the plot, Josh was like, okay, here's what happens at the end. So let's start it off by talking about the plot of this movie.
The mom talks about breaking into houses in the first 10 minutes of the film.
I know, but we don't even have. You haven't even mentioned that the girl is dead.
Oh my
God. Yeah, I said they find her body in the lake.
I know. Okay, let's start it off for real. So this movie starts off with Alice Palmer, and she's the daughter. Okay, once again, two parents. She's a daughter, one son. And so they're at Lake Mungo, which interestingly enough in real life is a dry lake, but in the movie it's not a dry lake, which is kind of a funny, like, why did you pick a dry lake? Anyway,
yeah.
So they're swimming, and then the brother decides to come to shore, and then she decides to stay back, and then she never comes back. And so eventually they find her body by scouring the lake, and she's drowned. And then the dad decides he's the one who's gonna go identify, because the mom, she's like, she didn't want to see her in that state, and so she decides not to go. I don't remember if Matthew goes or not, but I don't think Matthew is he doesn't need to see it as much.
Do you guys think them being the Palmers is an allusion to Laura Palmer?
Oh, there's no way it's not.
Oh, dude, I didn't
dead body at the lake.
Yes,
I mean, Alice in Wonderland and Laura Palmer. Those are the most. Yeah, of course.
Alice Palmer.
And so then we start, like, the movie kind of sets that up, and then we do start talking about how the family's reacting to it. Like Josh said, the mom is breaking in, she's stealing stuff, she's kind of taking it the worst.
She's like pretending, she's like, oh, if I like break into someone's house, I can pretend I live here instead of my own life, because I'm like crazy with her. And the dad's just like, oh, I just like went to work a lot, which is like a very man thing to do. Just be like, I'm just gonna like do spreadsheets at my job.
And no one even really cared that she was going into houses. Like they're talking to like
they kind of understood, and
like,
in a way.
I didn't really want to talk about it, even though everyone knew about it. It's just
right.
They were just letting her kind of walk into people's homes, and like, I guess she's in there now.
And I think it's cool. Like, it's interesting because like you can tell it's a small town, because like this guy is dating Alice, and then like his sister is dating like the brother and stuff like that. So it's all very close knit. And like they said, like if even in El Paso, definitely not in Portland, would people be like, oh yeah, my neighbor broke into my house, and I was just like, oh, she's going through a lot, like they'd be like, and then I got stabbed 85 times.
Right, but she didn't mean it. It was fine.
Exactly. And there's that sense of camaraderie. And so then we start kind of going through like how the family is. I mean, a lot of the movie is just how the family's reacting to her murder.
Well, her death. They don't.
Yeah. Yes, to her death.
Yeah,
she's not murdered.
Not murdered.
She drowned.
Yeah.
Well, or did she? We'll find.
Well,
she
we
did drown.
everything. But she did drown,
for sure
but
drowned, yeah.
but I guess that is kind of the point. Is it's not a murder mystery in that sense. It's like you're not like who did it. It's more like what's going on.
I will say,
why did she drown? Yeah.
That is one of the weirder, like, and maybe that is a criticism that I do find pretty valid, is that if you're, because the movie is supposed to be like, it's a documentary on the grief, how the family's affecting them. For a documentary about the grief and how the family's affecting them, they really go into that murder investigation or the investigation for her death, and it's like, man, what are you guys talking about half the time? Like, why don't you talk to the dad about therapy and shit?
Right.
But so eventually so the way that Matthew, who's the son, remember?
Yeah. Not the two parents.
Not the two parents. Matthew is the son. No, people are just listening to it are gonna be like, why did they stop talking? He's like he like starts finding bruises all over, and they start hearing sounds in the house. So he had already. It's also funny. This is like the most found footage thing ever. But in so many found footage things, they're like, he always had a passion for cameras. He loved cameras.
He always filmed everything.
So he sets up as if like, if I started hearing like I got a dog and I had to put a camera in the backyard to make sure he doesn't escape, and I didn't do that because I have a passion for cameras. I did that because I needed a camera to capture my dog. But anyway, so he sets up all these cameras in the house, and then like even like immediately like the first night, they see someone in the house kind of walking past the screen, and they're like, what the hell? And then at another point, they see Alice in like a vase, like she's staring at them. And so you're like, oh, what the fuck? So then, of course, being like rational people, their first thought is like, maybe because the body was pretty gross. They show us like the body was pretty decomposed by the time they found it. I think they find it 4 days after she disappeared. And in the water, like, and in Australia where it'd be super hot, it would be pretty decomposed by that point, which it is.
Yeah.
And so, so their first thought is...
That's an important fact. It's gray.
It's gray, yes. And so their first thought is maybe they identified the wrong body. And so, immediately they ask for the corpus to be exhumed and for them to be given DNA changes. And that's when they're like, no, that was her. Which is like, that's gotta be... Which again, like, they kind of gloss over that fact, but it's like, that's gotta be like the most devastating thing.
I know. Well, because they even like the dad, and I think that's almost part of why there's this like disconnect to it, is because the dad's like, oh, I had like given like I had not realized till they said that it was in fact her, that I'd like fully like committed myself to being like, oh, I got it wrong. That's definitely a girl, and she's like alive, and it's like, but it like. And then that's kind of like the trouble with the documentary type thing, is just to me like the disconnect is he's like describing this like heartbreaking thing, you know, where you'd be like, oh, that would like ruin your life all over again. But you're kind of just hearing someone conversationally relay it to you like way after the fact, because that's like the structure of the documentary. So I'm just like, you know, that's not like in Twin Peaks, you like see the grief of like, oh my god, our dead daughter, like falling to your knees sobbing. Whereas in this, everyone's just like, yeah, I was devastated, and then like the scene, like,
but you don't actually get to see the thing,
right? You know, and I'm not saying like I don't like misery porn, but I also get like, okay, if I'm reading a transcript, I'm getting like the same thing out of this. So it's like just seeing this, you know.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, if you read a script, reading a script and watching a movie are very different.
Right, not for this movie though.
You're saying you're getting the watered down version of the grief, as opposed to like seeing like, the actual breakdown.
Because it's all people describing how hard grief was to move on after they moved on from it.
Right, after they've kind of learned. And it's also like, because this movie, I think it doesn't take place that much like down the road from when she passed, because by the end of it they do move out, and it seems like it's been like a year or so. So it is also kind of weird that like the dad is recounting this like super traumatizing thing, where because like there's another really great shot where he's like, or a great scene where he goes, the mom started to get convinced that it wasn't her, and I was like, but I saw what happened. Like I wasn't like I figured it out that it was her. But then like he slowly gets worn down because of how much the mom is like just believes
he wants to believe it along with it.
And
and that's interesting. That's really like an interesting emotional But it's like you don't see their argument; you just hear them talk about it later. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just...
and I guess it would have been, but I feel like it also would have been, especially when you're dealing with newer actors, which is not really anyone's fault, but like it would have been easy to go into melodrama for this movie.
True, yeah, no, and that's for sure. And
this movie's very quiet. It's like the whole movie. It's not
it's pretty
really
chill for a horror film.
Yeah. And then one of the big ones is they show us like this picture of the backyard that Matthew was taking, and like she's right there. She's like standing in the corner.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the best shots. Like the music in that scene is so good, and it's not really even, it's like ambient noise, but like just the fact, even like every time they zoom in on the picture, it takes so long to zoom in that you're like,
right,
you're just like waiting for it. I think it works really well in a way that it's like, this shouldn't work as well as it does.
This basically, like, because the first thing is they're like, oh, maybe she's still alive, and then she's like, no, that's definitely her, and then that's kind of the next big revelation of the movie is the son's like, oh, I was kind of doctoring these photographs because I wanted to believe, he's like, I wanted to just to get, and obviously it's his own like psychological coping thing, it's like.
Right. Wait, I thought he wanted to do it because he, like, the mom was, like, because the mom kept regretting that she didn't go see the body, and then she, like, let herself be tricked.
Yeah, like, he wanted to do it for her, but I kind of got the sense that he's like, oh, if I put myself into this project, I don't have to think about it.
Well, because, like, the first thing, it's also funny because then they're, like, the cops came and they showed us one of the pictures, and it's him, like, in her coat, like taking a pic, like he's in her coat and he just took the picture that we just saw of her, and it's like, but it's also like, because then he says that thing about his mom, and it's like, okay, man, do you know Photoshop exists? Why were you wearing her coat? Like at the place that she got killed,
And he's also really good at like other techniques, anyways.
Yeah, like
techniques.
Yeah, one of the things he tells
2008. That's like photos. Like, it was still kind of tricky back then.
One of the things he tells us is that he like put her picture on a computer, on a TV screen, and then changed that vase so that it faced it, and so her reflection was in it. And then he just cropped out the corners of the TV screen. It's like, okay, man, if you could do all this in editing, like, first of all, can you finish editing Followed? Because that's pretty impressive. And then also. Well, then why the hell were you wearing her coat in the middle of Lake Mungo? Like, why was she wearing a coat in Lake Mungo? I thought it was warm.
True. Yeah, what season is this?
So then that kind of breaks down, and then they're kind of like, okay, I guess
it was all fine. A hoax. But then the mom is like looking through the photos anyway, because again, what else are you going to do in your grief? And she sees the second person in one of the figures.
Well, the video, not the photo.
Oh yeah, in the video, in one of the videos, and she realizes it's their neighbor. She's like, "What?"
Yeah, and he's looking for something.
Yeah, he's in her room, crouched down, and that's when they find out.
Just happened to be there whenever they were doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
She had a safe. Yeah.
Yeah, she had a safe.
Right, because the mom says something like, "I don't know if my son," because she knows it's a hoax, but she doesn't believe that it's a hoax in a way. But she's like, "I think my son was doing this for a reason he doesn't even know." Like, she's still so obsessed with it, kind of. Like, she still believes there's something here, which ends up being correct.
And we haven't talked about it yet, but she has been seeing a psychic this whole time, just kind of like telling her. Like, one of the things is and then when at one point Matthew says something about how he had a dream that he saw her, and he and that the mom, no, I think it's the mom who's being hypnotized, and she's saying, "Oh, Alice can't see the mom, like the mom can't help her." And so
it's like
that kind of drives the mom.
It's like dreams where she's in bed and Alice is like looking at them, but they can't
They can't. And then the dad. Do we talk about the dad seeing her?
No, like he just like goes in her room to sit down, and then he's like, oh, and then she walks in, and I swear it's her, and she sees me. He's like, get out, and then his all of his coworkers are like, oh, I believe he saw that, but I think he's like crazy with grief. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like everyone's just very dismissive of it.
Yeah, and so then I will say this part is not my favorite part, but then we find out that she had a safe, and then she had a tape in that safe. And we find out that she, like, because she used to babysit for the neighbors, and then the neighbor and his wife were having a threesome with her.
Right, and she's like 16.
And she's like, she's in like high school.
And
It wasn't a threesome. It was a joined rape session.
Yeah.
We're at 29 minutes. Trump is the president. They don't care about censorship anymore.
But it's like this doesn't become like a big part of the movie.
Yeah,
it's a major.
Because again, you're like, oh man, they're gonna like get the neighbor, and but it's like the cops are like, oh, the neighbor moved away, we can't find him.
I know,
like, right? I mean, they say something like they decided that it was like
he left
consensual, so they don't arrest him, and they just let him off with like a warning.
Which I don't know what the consensual laws are, and maybe the age is 16, but I don't know. That's pretty.
I don't know, yeah.
Like even here, like when the state laws are 16, I think like you have to also be 16. You can't be like 80 years old. You know?
Right.
Like,
well,
so I don't think.
Like, there's like the power dynamics.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, like
the
babysitter, age of consent. All that's bad, but it's also like this is a dead girl, and this is like, did this guy do something to her? And you're like, oh, is this where it's going? But it just kind of like, nah, and don't worry about it.
There's also a weird part.
There's no consequences for it.
Where I kind of think
it's so weird.
I think this was like due to because a lot of this movie is improv, but there's a part where they ask her boyfriend in the movie. They're like, "Well, what did you like? Did you know that she was hooking up with the neighbor?" And also, they never like other than talking about the police station. When he's asking questions, he never clarifies that like she was being assaulted by these two people. But anyway, they asked the boyfriend like, "Hey, did you know about this?" And he's like, "No, I wouldn't have been with her if I had known about it." And I was like, again. I feel like that's the actor's answer because he like wanted to say like give something in response.
Yeah,
but that's a pretty like callous like if I was making that documentary, I would be like, "Are you sure it's your answer?" Like,
it's also like it is kind of weird because like the boyfriend is also not really a big factor in this movie. Like he's just kind of like
he's just another voice. Yeah. I think the boyfriend is just there for this scene so he can say this thing. Like,
so he like I think later he's like, oh, by the way, here's the phone footage of her they had.
Right. So then he admits that he also says that right before Alice died, she was having a dream kind of similar to the mother's dream where she was like reaching out for the mother and she was drowned and the mother couldn't help her. And then he like see again, this is a little bit weird where he gives her the mobile phone footage that she had taken or that someone had taken of her of their last night.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean? Where was that? Like it's been been a while. Like remember when she was missing for 2 days before they found her? Yeah. Shouldn't you have turned that into the cops or something? But it also gives us our first real scare where we see some of the footage and she's walking and she runs into someone and that person she runs into is actually her after she's been drowned and like the dad's like,
it's a gray figure like
it's a gray it's also funny
this is the scariest part of the movie for sure. This is the part that was that killed me.
They show it and her like eye is all messed up and she's gray and she's wearing a hoodie and she's all dead and then the dad is like, yeah, that was her. I was like, well, yeah, no shit, who else was it gonna be?
That's what I'm saying. Like
who else is it gonna be? Russell.
Every like scare of this is just kind of undercut by then just like the family being like, yeah, no, this is crazy, huh? And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I agree. That's like...
Yeah. And so in one of the footages, they find that she was digging something and she was burying it, and that's how they find the phone.
It's because there's footage of her, and this actually, again, this is why like structure. I think this is really like cool because I think I don't know, maybe you do see briefly like beach party footage at the beginning, but the point is like you see it again at the end. They're going over it, and everyone's kind of having a good time. As teens, beach. But she's super like aloof.
Yeah, she's like off to the side.
She's already acting weird, but why?
Yeah.
And then they see like footage of her like kind of crouched down near a tree, and then that's when they go and they're like, oh, she buried her phone at this tree.
Right.
And that ghost footage.
That's when they find the
And I can kind of see where Josh and like people who don't like this movie have an issue with the structure of this film because it is kind of set up like a mystery, but but then the movie doesn't seem super interested in the mystery that it's setting up because
the answers are all pretty easy.
Yeah, and not only that,
found.
but it's like, oh, she was burying her phone. Why? And it's like we don't really get an answer. We get what the characters think, which I guess does happen in real life. Like you might not always, like the Zodiac. Like he left a bunch of clues that have never been solved, and it's like, oh well, they're never going to be solved. I mean, he's probably dead.
Sorry.
And so, but like in terms of story and structure, that like not a satisfying answer,
Well, and that to me is interesting is that she sees herself, so she essentially is aware that she's going to die. Like, she sees how she's going to die, and it's going to be pretty soon.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like this like aspect to it of like she kind of had this like secret life of like she was like spiraling, you know, with like the babysitters and stuff. And I think that's very interesting. Like, it's like, oh, she didn't kill herself or anything. She just couldn't like prevent herself from dying. But
yeah, it's also like I just want to do a real quick prequel to this movie where it's Alice and she's talking to her boyfriend. She's like, you know how we were partying last night? Last night, I like ran into someone and it looked like me, but I was drowned, and I keep having those dreams about being drowned and like my mom can't help me, and like I don't know, it just looks so much like me. And he's like, I know, babe, you want to hang out and talk about this? She's like, no, you know, my family's going to Lake Mungo to swim, and I know I shouldn't swim, but I got this new swimsuit, and I got to
go out a little bit too far.
I gotta get in that water. And it's like, hey, maybe Alice, take a summer off and we'll go swim next.
Right, just go to the desert, go to the waterless Lake Mungo.
It's so like, yeah, exists. Just that quick. It's kind of like. Just like swimming time. Like no thoughts on this.
This seems fine.
See, well, and that like it to me, it's more like, oh, it's interesting because it's like she was not like, I don't know. They never really say she's suicidal, but obviously she was so like trapped in her like bad version.
But and you know what? That's an interesting. That's an interesting take. Is that did she commit suicide? We're just never gonna get monetized on this episode. But did she commit suicide? And that's kind of. But see, and like that's again. Go back to the phone mystery. She takes the phone. Eventually, the family says like, "Oh, I think the reason she buried this phone is so that we could find out like who she was." Because like, there's another great line where they're like, "She kept secrets. She kept a secret about." That she kept secrets, and I think that's a very smart thing to say.
It's the very beginning of the movie,
But I think it's like they decide that she wanted them to know about her, but it's like, and that was the way she did it, like burying a phone and hoping that your boyfriend would catch you in the background of another video.
Yeah, I kind of get it because if you, this is also it's funny like. We haven't really discussed the psychic. He's like a radio psychic, just one of those like
right.
But we briefly touched on it, but then what you find out later is that she had already, like Alice had already been going to him before she died because she's like, I'm having these like weird, like this kind of out of body feeling, and he kind of lies to the family about it. But again, it's not one of those things that it's like they just kind of describe being like, oh, like why did he lie to us? We felt betrayed. But they'd kind of already gotten over it again. But then it's like, okay, so for a while they're like, oh, what's this guy's deal? But he's like, no, I didn't want to help. That's why I didn't mention it. Because I wanted to, like, help anyway.
Yeah.
But then you realize that
the most forgiving family in the world is just like, yeah, that's fine.
I know. They're so nice. Right. They're so forgiving to all, like, the blow-ups that would happen, you know?
Yeah.
But basically, they kind of show this, like, she was going to him because she's having these dreams, and then you almost realize the dreams she's having are after she's already dead, and like she's like experiencing like what like when she's like standing over their bed and stuff like that, and it's almost like this kind of like you know she's like kind of out of time, like kind of unstuck and seeing like what will happen even after she dies, but she doesn't like know how to stop it, which I think is interesting. Like you know,
and when Mike Flanagan ripped it off for Hill House, Josh was in love with it. But
that is
apparently it has to have a Netflix budget for Josh to care.
Right.
Well, you have people arguing and stuff. There's no arguments in this movie.
Yeah, they're like, oh, our neighbor, he slept with our daughter, but then he moved, so I guess it's done. Like I would murder that guy. He also has children.
I know. He's like,
I know.
With your daughter, and he has like 3 kids.
Yeah, like
I think the dad says if I saw him down the street, I'd go pop him.
Yeah,
or something like that. He does threaten assault.
And the cops were like, I don't know.
Just let him go.
I do get like it kind of captures a sense of like being like a teenager, and you're like, oh, I want people to see the real me, but I'm like scared of showing anyone like the truth, and it's almost like Alice is experiencing that alive and dead. Like, she can't share things with her family, but she wants to, and this is like the only way. So they only find out about it when it's too late.
Right.
Which
Right.
I think is a very
interesting
interesting
about it too.
like
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, where it's like,
Sure.
oh, my parents never truly knew me, but I also like didn't like I closed myself.
Yeah,
off to them,
and
Yeah. And then the mom said it's like maybe it was her fault because like her mom was that way to her, she was that way to her daughter. Maybe her mom's mom was like that to her. Like it kind of becomes like the sort of like generational trauma thing, or like generational uncloseness, I guess you could say.
Let me. I don't know. Should we discuss the end, or do you just want to discuss the movie as a whole? I mean, I don't think you can really, like I said, if you're at this far, I feel like a lot of it's already been spoiled for you.
Yeah, her meeting her dead self is pretty much the big thing. But
to me, the scariest part. So at the end, so then the family decides to leave, and they're taking pictures, and then at the very end, they start zooming in on those pictures that they've been taking the whole time, and you realize that the ghost of Alice has been there and has been watching them the whole time. Like there's even a shot with that backyard shot that that the brother faked Alice and put her in there, like superimposed her. On the other side, you can see Alice just sitting in the bench
in the window. Yeah,
and so it ends up being like this kind of irony. But I think the reason that I ended up liking this movie still on the second watch, even though it doesn't, to me, it didn't have as much impact in terms of scares. I do like the photo stuff, but I wasn't as scared the first time. But we'll find out tonight, I guess, because I saw it in the morning. But one of the things is, I think it's that thing, especially like anyone who's had like a really hard death in the family. You kind of like if you don't watch yourself, you find yourself way too focused on how they passed and not focused on who they were as a person. So instead of remembering that person, you're only remembering like, I've had people who died kind of unfairly in my life. And so like, I find myself like thinking about like every time I think about them, it's more like, I can't believe like that this happened. Like this unfair thing happened, just kind of like how it happened to Alice. And so it makes it hard to focus on who the person was. And especially like with this one, Alice kept so much guarded that I think like the family just feels lost. And that's kind of the sense you get throughout the whole thing. And I think like that's a good lesson, because a lot of people don't like, unless it's a revenge movie, but even then they don't really focus on it. But I think it's kind of like an interesting thing to talk about, the way we kind of, the things we latch on to when we're trying to like not be depressed or like kind of move past a traumatic event,
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I also feel like that's almost part of the, for me, the disconnect of like, this movie is very good at portraying something like incredibly like sad, like kind of doing like, not just like the grief of the family, but like Alice's like sadness, like leading up to her death. But I also feel like, oh, it's sad, but not scary. You know what I mean? Like, because to me, it's almost like, I'm not seeing visions of my dead self in the future. I ain't scared. Like, it's not like a monster is gonna get you.
It's also that thing where, like, a movie doesn't, especially a horror movie, doesn't necessarily have to be scary to be good. Like,
you guys kept saying it was scary.
But like, what our interpretation shouldn't weigh on your interpretation of the film.
Well, no, because you get this like, oh, it's Jordan Peele, so it's the scariest movie and stuff, and I'm like, I think it's very well put together, but not necessarily scary,
right?
And I think that's almost, and I'm not saying every horror movie has to be scary to be good. I almost feel like a lot of like horror movies are,
and I do think like people get into that kind of like Scream. I don't find very scary, but I love Scream. Like I like that movie,
right?
And so, but the people who do find it scary, it's like, I mean, just people. I find ghosts more scary than men, because a man can only do so much. But a ghost,
Alex Garland's men.
A ghost can, they can go in pictures. So
a ghost doesn't have rules.
Yeah, a ghost will be in a picture and a video, even if you don't want her to be. A ghost will show you a sex tape of your daughter.
But it's
right, and then nothing will happen.
We're not.
Imagine
it'll be relatively inconsequential.
Okay, I want to do another. I will say, just talking about this movie, there's like no one has seen this movie enough to make a fucking spoof of it. But if we were to make a spoof of it, it would be very easy to make one. Like every time they cut back to the pictures, just more Alice's. I think this movie, and I honestly like. we make fun of Josh because he's a resident hater. But if you don't like this movie, I don't necessarily disparage you, because it's kind of like, even more so than The Exorcist, it's gonna work or it's not. And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that Skinamarink movie where it's like, if it doesn't, you're just sitting there bored as hell.
Right, you're just. But I also like. I do feel like it still has like, even if someone is like, "Oh, I'm not like scared by this," there's like an interesting like puzzle they're putting together over the course of the film. That's like, that is cool to like see them build on. I'm just never, and I don't mean like scary and the guy opens the mirror and a monster's like, yeah, and then there's like a music thing.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's more like, oh, this is a crazy story that like, someone tells you in a bar, you know.
Josh, can you tell us what movie?
Wow.
Can you tell us what movie you're watching where a guy opens a mirror and then another guy is like, rah? I don't think that
happens in the
movie. Oh no, the scary movie.
No, it was The Unborn. Actually, that's
the girl.
My go-to of The Unborn is like the most like, every 5 minutes someone's gonna open something.
Oh,
and then a monster's gonna come out and it's gonna play music and you're like, this sucks. Because and it's literally like a demon baby coming out of her like bathroom mirror.
If you ever watch The Unborn, make it a drinking game where you drink every time there's a jump scare, and you will be dead in the first 25 minutes. You will die of alcohol.
I don't know why The Unborn is my go-to, but I think that's the first because I saw it in theaters. That's just like, yeah, here's another one. Let's go. You know, it was kind of the peak of like, here's cheap.
And this movie is definitely not going. There's no jump scares.
It's
even
the anti-Unborn. You know?
It's just like dreadful. It's not like
it's Penny
exciting.
Dreadful. Yeah.
No cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, except for one car that has to drive in reverse back home.
See, and again, like, even if you're an aspiring filmmaker, which I assume all of our watchers are, because why else would you be watching this podcast? I would say, like, that's another thing, is like the director, he saw like so many filmmakers I know and meet, they like, you talk to them and it's a lot of excuses for why they can't make it. And of course there is a lot of excuses in filmmaking. You know, I wish I could make a film every day. It's just not how it is. But this director saw that problem and he was like, okay, so I don't have a lot of money. I don't have access to really like good actors. So let me figure out, well, not good, but like real experienced actors is a better word for it. So let me see what I can do. And he came up with this. And I think this is like the perfect way to kind of get around all those issues. Even if you end up with like a Poughkeepsie tape or Lake Mungo, where it's like, well, yeah, we're clearly like showing stuff, or clearly cutting around stuff that we can't afford.
Right.
But I think it's interesting. Like, that's one of the reasons that the last one is a zombie movie, because I don't have to worry about extras. There's only 3 people in that film.
Right.
Well, I think that's why so many filmmakers love this, because you see how much was put into what you could do with no money and new actors and still have it like hit, you know, essentially.
And and especially like, there is a lot of independent horror that I like, but a lot of times it does make it harder to get scared. But I think Toad Road and this one, Toad Road, we did last week, they work in that way of building dread, like focusing more on dread, which you've seen any of my movies is clearly what I'm going for a little bit more than general scares. Like, there's no mirrors in my movie, buddy boy. But in like this one, it really brings on the dread, and I think that works. You know, I think it makes you feel uneasy. And I think the reason I like the pictures at the end so much is because so much of this movie and so much of the true crime genre in general is like, oh yeah, this is what we know. Like, and I guess this kind of works together, and I didn't realize it until now. But even the family, like, they always answer what they think Alice I keep wanting to call her Laura Palmer. They keep like answering what they thought Alice wanted. Like, oh, she hid the phone because she wanted us to see who she was for real before she passed, or she showed us this tape because she wanted us to find it so she knew what her neighbors had done to it. But I think at the end, by showing those pictures and showing that Alice was there, it just kind of reminds the audience that there's so much of the universe and of the world that we don't really know, and there is no explanation for. And so it is that kind of thing where it's like, the whole movie is about this family finding answers, and that last gut punch is like, sometimes there's just stuff we don't have the answers to. Sometimes there's just ghosts in the shell,
questions,
so to speak.
Yeah.
Question. That was a way. I wish that I had ended it by saying questions because that was a way smarter thing than what I said. But
I got you though.
I'll edit it. I'll edit it so I
Yeah.
said it.
You just hard cuts to you in a totally different position.
It's like and that's sometimes we just have I'm just in different clothes and I'm on full screen.
Yeah.
You're wearing a new shirt. Yeah.
Against a wall. Questions.
Question.
Holding the world on your shoulders.
It's William's voice. I didn't even say it myself. I'm not even talking.
Questions.
It is interesting that he like made this and just hasn't done anything since.
Well, and
I know, that's so surprising.
You know what's funny is that I was reading about it, and it was like following the release, like he said he had kept a low profile. He never talked about. He never made anything else, and then there was like he did like talk one time about the fact that he hasn't made anything, and he said, "I think we were thinking it'd be nice if we could make a film that was kind of a curiosity, but if you saw it years from now, you wouldn't know anything about where it came from. You'd be wondering, is it real or is it not real?" To explain why he didn't make a movie. But then like the last sentence is like, oh, and then he came back to executive produce Late Night with the Devil. It's like, oh, I guess he was like, that's enough of that. Enough of that bullshit.
I need some scratch, yeah.
But and I do think it is
that.
like I don't remember this, but apparently I did it. I did tell my brother to watch this documentary, and I didn't tell him that it was a fake documentary. I told him it was a real one. Because he was like
nice.
13 at the time. And like he brings it up all the time. He's like, remember when you told me Lake Mungo was real and I watched it and I was scared for 4 days? I'm like, I don't remember that.
I guess that is like, yeah, and that's almost the Blair Witch thing.
I dug my
if you
phone.
think it's real, it's terrifying, you know?
See, I don't know, because I watched this, I didn't think it was real at any point. I just think it's like a really effective ghost story. It's also hard to tell a really scary ghost story. Like, I can't think of too many. I mean, we did a whole month for last Halloween on ghost stories. I didn't really find any of those super scary.
But I also
even if I like them or not, you know.
And this is also like, maybe this is like, because when you're watching a movie, obviously, I think I think we all try to put ourselves in like, oh, what character, what, like, can you see yourself in this protagonist? You know, that's like the disconnect. Does it work or not? And it's like, hey, I'm not a troubled teen who might be suicidal.
Yeah.
So instead, if I'm in Lake Mungo, I'm just one of the other townspeople being like, oh, that was crazy, you know? So I think that's almost like my ghost isn't coming from me. I'm just hearing about it happening to someone else. So that to me is like,
right,
where, you know, it doesn't fully like it.
So would you say, Josh, that you ain't afraid of no ghosts?
In this case, yes. Now, if it were like the house on Haunted Hill, you know, Taye Diggs being pursued by a ghost that's going to kill you if it grabs you, that's scary. Because how are you going to get out of that house on Haunted Hill?
I mean,
there's a real threat there. I see what you're saying.
Are you going to put yourself as a Taye Diggs character?
You know, I might be the Chris Kattan.
Are you going to jump into a big vat of blood?
The Peter Gabriel character, the sleazy guy who hates everything.
I think I'm maybe
1408
more
was a scary one. That was a scary movie.
Well, in 1408, like, you're gonna die. You know?
Right. They tell you at the beginning for sure.
You're not just like, oh man, my neighbor's really going through it with their dead daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh says if you don't have empathy, it's very hard to like this movie, which I do agree with.
No, but I mean, like, you'd be sad, but you wouldn't be scared, you know?
Josh's neighbors
you'd be scared about how sad you're gonna be.
Josh's like neighbors are like, help me, Josh! Someone's breaking into and he turns up the TV. He's like, enough of that.
But I'm not like,
that's not scary at all.
I guess it's also like,
was she gonna die?
Again, you're not like, it never puts you in like the argument the family's having. Like,
that is true.
Like you never, like, whenever the son reveals he's been doctoring, like, you can imagine how that scene went with his parents probably being like horrified and enraged and sad all at the same time. But again,
I don't know. They did let their neighbor go. They could have been like,
they seem to
don't do that, chap. All right, let's get back.
Doesn't like with also maybe I've seen a lot of like low budget Australian movies. There's this kind of charming nonchalance to Australians where they're like they take everything in stride, and I think that's really fun when it's like like a crazy sci-fi thing and they're just not reacting to it because it's supposed to be a fun adventure. But when it's like a horror movie about grief, you're like, you guys are taking way too much of this in stride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, and I
You are
do
fine with
think
this,
you have a point in that because of the fact that it's a documentary and like in Poughkeepsie tapes, the killer's still out there and he kind of targets whoever. So if you do put yourself in that scenario where that killer exists, there is a lot more of like,
yeah,
oh
it's really
shit.
scary because you're
And
like, how would
yeah.
you get
and
away?
I think maybe that's why um this movie's very hit and miss with the audience because it is kind of like it's an existential dread. You know, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a cosmic horror, but it does deal with that fact of like what happens to us and like because there is almost that there's a second interpretation, which the first time I saw it, I had this interpretation, but now that I've seen it again, I've kind of changed it. But the first time I saw this, I thought that she was gonna be stuck in that house. And I thought there was
Yeah.
this fact that they're moving on and like they're moving on, they're ready to grieve, and then just gonna leave her trapped in this house, you know? And to me, that was like the worst part of it. But now watching it again, I realized that she was also like at Lake Mungo, so maybe she can go with them.
I see. I thought it was just like she's just retreading where she was in life. It's like she's like on a loop that Alive or Dead is like she's just in it, you know. Like
right,
yeah.
and that might
she
be
went
it
to
too.
Lake Mungo, so she's at Lake Mungo type of thing. You know?
But because you're watching this and you're seeing how it's affecting them, and it's a very personal story for them, there is that kind of disconnect between you and the audience. Where if you don't, if you're not like freaked out by the idea of ghosts and what they can do, it's there's not a lot to hold on to. So I can see that, you know.
But you know, again, I do love a circuitous ghost story, not unlike the film
Time Loop
Ghost
is always
Story.
scary. Yeah.
So I guess I need Casey Affleck in a movie to be scared.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
So do his victims.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Lake Mungo is definitely worth checking out. See if you find it scary, or if you're the resident hater of your friend group. And then
tell them why you don't think it's scary.
Yeah, tell them why you don't think it's scary. But yeah, check it out. Tell us what you think. It is like I think either way, it is kind of cool to see what you can do with such a low budget, especially because look on the Wikipedia, it's like Rotten Tomatoes top 10 best horror found footage films, IndieWire,
right,
top 15. Variety, top 10. Entertainment Weekly, top 25. BFI, top 10. So it's like
film,
on so many of these movies. And I think it's also that thing because it's presented, and maybe this is a little bit of Poughkeepsie tapes too, because it's presented in such a unique way. Like a lot of times when you're watching a found footage movie, they're in the middle of shooting it. So this one being afterwards is just a diversion of the genre. I think that also kind of like throws people for a loop and makes it more memorable than like that War of the Worlds Ice Cube found footage that just came out today.
Well, I should hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check it out. Check out Lake Mungo. This is band adjacent. Yeah. We'll see what we get up to. Yeah, we'll see what we get up to when we come back next week on the Bomb Squad.